Hello class, this is lesson 12.3, using proportional relationships. So in this lesson, the main goal is to prove theorems about geometric figures using the triangle congruence and similarity theorems that we talked about before. And this lesson is going to be focused heavily on word problems, so application-based problems, and creating proportions to solve for the missing variables. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing we're going to look at is example 1. They want us to find the indicated dimension using the measurement shown in the figure and the properties of similar triangles. So for problem number 1, in order to find the height of a palm tree, you measure the tree's shadow, and at the same time of the day you measure the shadow cast by a meter stick that you hold at a right angle to the ground. Find the height h of the tree. So we have a meter stick here, 1 meter, and that forms a shadow that is 1.6 meters long. We have a palm tree, which we don't know the distance, or we don't know the length of the palm tree, so we call that x, or actually they're calling that h in this problem. So this is the height. And the palm tree casts a shadow that is 7.2 meters across. So we could create a proportion because we have two right triangles. This is 90 degrees, this is 90 degrees. The way we could write a proportion, we could say the height of the palm tree over the height of the meter stick is equal to the shadow of the palm tree over the shadow of the meter stick. So pretty much what we're doing is the height of the tree over the height of the stick is equal to the shadow of the tree over the shadow of the stick. So notice that we have height over height, shadow over shadow. So using variables, we have AB over XY equals BC over YZ. So AB over XY equals BC over YZ. Substituting the values, we have h over 7.2 is equal to 1 over 1.6. So actually, I think they actually did this a little bit different. So if I was to use this method, let's actually do it this way. H over 1 is equal to 7.2 over 1.6. Now look at how I did mine and look how they did theirs. And then when we cross multiply, we end up with 1.6h is equal to 7.2. So we get the same thing. Divide both sides by 1.6. and we get h is equal to 4.5. So there's more than one way of actually creating that proportion. This is one way. The way they did theirs was they did the height of the tree let's see what they did. The height of the tree over the shadow of the tree is equal to the height of the meter stick over the shadow of the meter stick. So they actually made a mistake here, but let's not focus on that. Okay, so let's look at one more problem. Raul is 72 inches tall. To measure a flagpole, Raul stands near the flag. Raul's friend Miranda measures the length of Raul's shadow and the flagpole shadow. Find the height h of the flagpole. So this is another shadow problem, and we want to find the height of the flagpole. So this is one way they create the proportion. The flagpole's height over the person's height is equal to the flagpole's shadow over the person's shadow. So h over 72 equals 128 over 48. We have this proportion here, and then we cross multiply, and we get 48x equals 128 times 72. They found out what 128 times 72 is, and then they divided by 48 to both sides, and they end up with 192. So the math in this lesson is pretty simple in that we're just creating the proportion and doing some cross multiplication and doing some basic algebra where we're solving for x. Okay, now let's practice a problem. Now, if you want to pause the video here and try this problem on your own, you guys are free to do so. And then when you're ready to look at the answer, press play. So Liam is 6 feet tall. So this is 6 feet tall. To find the height of a tree, he measures his shadow and the tree shadow. So here is his shadow, 8 feet. Here is the tree shadow, 28 feet. And then h is the height of the tree that he wants to find. So let's create that proportion. We could say the height of the tree over the height of Liam. So h over 6 is equal to the shadow of the tree over Liam's shadow. 28 over 8. Cross multiplying, I get 8h is equal to 28 times 6. And 28 times 6 is 168. Then I would divide both sides by 8. And 168 divided by 8 is 21. So the tree is 21 feet tall. And that would be your answer. Okay, and let's look at a different kind of problem. So this is the same thing, but it's just two triangles that are written in a different way. So a hiker wants to find the distance across a canyon. And in this picture, we have a picture. So we have two right triangles. We have this is 327. This is 600 from here to here. And then from here to here it's 400. And then this is the distance that we want to find, D. Now, if we look at this, the first thing we have to look at is, are these two triangles similar? And they are, because they both are right angles. They both have 90 degrees. And they both share a vertical angle of Z. So there's two angles. Using the angle-angle triangle similarity theorem, we can say that they are congruent. Next, how do we create our proportion if the triangles look like this? One thing I like to do is I like to make the triangles look the same or be in the same direction. So let's say I'm going to leave this triangle alone. So let me draw that triangle on the side. So this is 600, this is 327, this is W, V, Z. Okay, so that one didn't change. This one though, I'm going to flip it upside down and then flip it so that it's in the same position. So let me draw that one. again, we have the right angle. The right angle is y. And then this is going to be x. And then this is going to be z. So this is z. So xy is d, and then yz is 400. So now these two triangles look exactly the same, and now I could create my proportion. I could say this side over this side is equal to this side over this side. So let's do that. Let's write 327 over d is equal to 600 over 400. Now notice mine's looks different than theirs, but what happens when I cross multiply is that we get the same kind of solution. So these are big numbers, and if I multiply these big numbers, let's just do 600 times d is 600d. 327 times 400 that is 130,800, and then divide both sides by 600, and I get d is equal to 218 feet. So what they actually did here was they actually simplified 400 over 600. That fraction reduces to 2 over 3. They cross multiplied, and then they got the same answer that I did. Okay, and then the last problem that we're going to be doing is just an example of the one we just did. We have the same kind of figure, but then the question is, how do we create that proportion? What side goes with what side? So to make this one go a little bit faster, I'm just going to say this side here, the long side, this is the long side, this is the short side, this is the long side, this is the short side. So what I'm going to do is write long side over the long side, so d over 12 is equal to the short side over the short side, 12 over 6. Then I'm going to cross multiply. D times 6 is 6d. 12 times 12 is 144. Divide both by 6. And I get d is equal to, let's find out what 144 divided by 6 is. D is equal to 24. Okay, and that completes lesson 12.3. Let me see if there's any homework problems that we can look at that might be a little bit challenging. Okay, let's look at number 4 together. So let me zoom in to problem number 4. Okay, so two triangles below are similar, solve for x. Okay, so here are my two triangles. We already know these triangles are similar. How do we create our proportion? So we could set it up as this is the big triangle, this is the small triangle. This straight side of the big triangle goes with this straight side of the small triangle. This slanted side of the big triangle goes with this slanted side. So we want to say LK over KD is equal to MK over KC. So big over small, big over small. So then substituting the values, I get 63 over 16 is equal to 28 over 2x plus 8. Cross multiplying, so I'm going to use my calculator. 63 times 2 is 126. 63 times 8. So if I multiply 63 times 2x plus 8, I'm going to get 126x plus 504. And if I multiply 16 and 28, I get 448. Then I would let me see, I would subtract 504 to both sides. And I get 126x equals negative 56. So I think there might be an issue with this problem because I'm getting a negative answer and I shouldn't be getting a negative answer. Let me look at it one more time. You know, I think the proportion is correct. I think there might be an issue with the values. Do not worry about problem number 4, but this is the correct setup. If you guys run into an issue with a negative number again, please, just stop right there because I don't think we could get an answer that's negative in these problems. Alright, but besides that, you have the checkpoint, lesson checkpoint, and your homework. Have a good day, guys.